And now the question is, what will Congress do, if anything, about serious national security concerns after Atlantic editor Jeffrey Goldberg revealed he was added to a text thread with Trump officials about airstrikes in Yemen? Congressman Pat Ryan, a U.S. Army veteran who served 2 tours in Iraq, wrote this: "If House Republicans won't hold a hearing on how this happened immediately, I'll do it my damn self." Congressman Pat Ryan joins us now. Okay, Congressman, have any of your Republican colleagues suggested to you they'd support a hearing? Should it be public? And why do you think it's important?
This should not be Republican or Democrat. This should be, are you a patriot or are you not? Do you care about our troops in harm's way? Do you care about securing vital, essential, existential national security information or not? I just came off the House floor. I was actually trying to work on a few colleagues, but I'll be frank, I have very little hope that any of them will show any ounce of backbone. Despite the fact that we know we're the shoe on the other foot politically, they would be absolutely out there hammering this. And so it's a real reckoning moment for the Republican Party, the MAGA Party. Are you patriots, or are you going to be partisans? Are you going to be sycophants to Trump? Or are you going to actually protect our troops and protect the American people?
Well, you mentioned that you thought that they would be hammering it if the shoe was on the other foot. I want to go back to 2016, and Pete Hegseth said this. He was referring to Hillary Clinton's use of a private email and accusations that she mishandled secrets.
Any security professional, military, government, or otherwise, would be fired on the spot for this type of conduct and criminally prosecuted for being so reckless with this kind of information. Even one hiccup causes a problem.
Do his very words now apply to him? Should Mike Waltz be fired? Should they resign? What do you think?
Well, they never should have been appointed in the first place. Certainly, Hegseth and I and many were out there saying that he is not a serious person at a very serious time. Look, I was an Army officer, served 27 months in combat. Had I disclosed information in that way, I would not only lose my clearance, I would probably be at Fort Leavenworth in federal prison right now. And friends across the military have been texting me saying, goodness gracious, had we done this, we know what would have happened to us. There still has to be accountability in the United States of America, especially with such sensitive national security information. But instead, it's total amateur hour. And then today we see the White House double down and blatantly lie from the White House press secretary. There have to be consequences for this. And if the Republicans in Congress won't hold a hearing on my committee, the Armed Services Committee, as I said, we will do that. I was just speaking with our ranking member, Adam Smith. He is pushing for that. Our leadership is pushing for that, because that's what we owe the American people, and that's what we certainly owe any of our men and women in uniform.
But realistically, what are the chances that happens?
Well, look, if they won't hold this using the formal channels, I believe we need to hold essentially a shadow hearing. When the executive becomes unaccountable to the legislative branch, which is in Article 1 of our Constitution, then we need to escalate. And if this administration won't be accountable to the people, then we should have shadow hearings and other similar actions to hold them accountable. And my constituents, I come from a very purple competitive district, regardless of party, this is what they expect. Seriousness and accountability, those should not be partisan things.
Well, Speaker Mike Johnson has said Mike Waltz should absolutely not resign. Congressman Brian Mast says he does not support an investigation, although, to be fair, some Republicans have had harsher words.
There are likely to be classified briefings about this soon, but it's a concern. It appears that mistakes were made, no question.
Putting out classified information like that endangers our forces. And I can't believe that they were knowingly putting that kind of classified information in an unclassified system. Is wrong.
So I'm wondering, the White House position is, and we heard it in a hearing today, in a Senate hearing, the position of the intelligence community leadership, no classified information was shared. How do you view this, and how do the folks that you've been in touch with in the military view this in terms of what does and does not constitute classified information?
Well, it's total BS. I mean, I would say a different word, but I know we're on national TV here, and anybody who served a day knows that. It's been made clear by the reporter that there was sensitive information that would reveal targets and sources and methods that would have disclosed specific individuals and put lives at risk of our troops. And that is a widely held view by members of the military of all ranks and all generations. I mean, it almost feels like a sort of Orwellian moment where our government is asking us to just ignore the facts right in front of our face, which is just, we cannot allow that to continue. I give some credit to my colleague Don Bacon. He's really the only one who's spoken out that I've heard anyway, with any backbone and any clarity. And it's not coincidental to me that he was a one-star general, served in uniform, and understands we have to put country ahead of party in moments like this. I wish there were more Don Bacons in today's Republican Party instead of these sycophants that just blindly follow Trump, who, by the way, himself refused to serve and dodged a draft 5 times. It's pathetic.
I'm told Mark Warner just came out and said if the information wasn't classified, put out the whole chat. Is that what should be the standard here? Do you agree?
Well, the standard should be, number one, we should not be using a commercial, unsecure platform like Signal to communicate. Anybody who's worked a day in the military would know that, and they have other options. Number two, there needs to be a real, serious, adult investigation done, and we have to have confidence that that's done. Normally, in normal times, that would be done by the FBI. With Patel in there, I think we saw that earlier today. I think that's unlikely. So we need to, again, use sort of extraordinary measures here, whether that's a special prosecutor or something of the like. I don't think it's ideal to be sharing national security secrets publicly. I'd rather see a fulsome investigation, but provide transparent updates to the public throughout. And that's what I'm pushing for on the Armed Services Committee and pushing on the FBI to do.
Congressman Pat Ryan, thank you.